The most popular focal length on full frame cameras is 50mm, and for good reason. It gives you brilliantly good portraits, it's good for street work, it's also a quote-unquote normal focal length. There's some controversy as to whether this is what the human eye sees or whether that's a 35mm, but you can go down that rabbit hole about the Leica 1 camera. The point is, this is very popular. Typically, this is the first prime lens that most people buy after getting their camera. And believe it or not, Viltrox up until today only had one 50mm f2 Air as a full frame option. So this new 50mm f1.4 Pro should spice things up a little bit. This is a competitor to the $1,500 Sony 50mm GM for nearly 1/3 of the price. This video is sponsored by Viltrox, which means they are paying me to demonstrate this lens and talk about it. I am treating this just like a regular lens review, so I will show you the lens, I'll show you the results, talk to you about all of the problems that I see, all the shortcomings, and I will hide nothing. Viltrox will not see this video before it goes live, and they have no say in what I say, so let's begin. If you've handled a Viltrox Pro lens, this will feel very familiar. This is a full metal lens body with rubber and plastic and glass elements as well. It's a solidly constructed lens. The weight also is solid at 812 grams. Starting at the rear, there is a metal mount, electronics, a USB-C port for firmware updates, and an orange weather sealing gasket. This entire lens is dust and drip resistant. There is a click on and off switch for the aperture ring, which is nice and clicky when switched on. It has good action and requires a fair bit of force when clicks are enabled, so you won't accidentally knock it to a value that you didn't want. The lens specs are on top, Viltrox logo, Pro label here, autofocus manual focus switch, and a focus hold button. In front is a super smooth manual focus ring, all electronic, and the end of the lens features a flat front lens element, specs, 77mm front filter thread, and a minimum focus of 1.48 feet. Inside there are 15 elements in 11 groups. A bunch of those are fancy elements, an 11 bladed diaphragm, and focus is handled by a Hyper VCM or linear motor. I took this lens out with my Sony a7C and I shot some portraits. Here they are, JPEGs out of my camera, ready, set, go. Overall impressions of this lens are exceedingly positive. There are a few issues which I will outline, but in general, what you are getting is exceptional sharpness across the frame, brilliant colors, good contrast levels, and smooth backgrounds that make your subject pop. I did a quick comparison of this lens to my Tamron 28-70 G2 just to get a baseline, and here are the results. With both lenses at f2.8, the Viltrox is just as sharp in the center of the frame, and out into the corners, I would say it is slightly sharper. It's a very good performance compared to an already very highly regarded zoom lens. Even wide open at f1.4, the center of the frame looks just as sharp as the Tamron, and the corners look nearly as good. There is a bit more fringing on the Viltrox, but in terms of just sharpness, it is quite impressive, even wide open across the frame. When you shoot wide open, there is a bunch of vignetting. As you stop down to f2, the corners get a lot brighter, but all of the samples that I just showed you were shot at f1.4, and the vignetting, at least for portrait work, is not a bad addition. If you are shooting landscapes with this lens, you'll probably want to brighten things up in the corners. Chromatic aberration performance is pretty good. There is a little bit of it, but it's not a lot. There is some loca or color fringing on out of focus high contrast areas that is a bit more noticeable. This performance, however, is up there with the best lenses available for full frame. Flare performance, on the other hand, isn't the best that I've seen. There are a lot of flare elements, a loss of contrast, but I played with this in my samples and I like the results. This lens hood does help a little bit with the flare, but this lens doesn't suppress flares as well as some others that I've tested. In terms of distortion, there is a slightly wavy line. I would say that this is barrel distortion in the center of the frame, and the edges and the corners Viltrox has corrected, so the lines are mostly straight. This is going to be a bit challenging to correct in post, but if you want perfectly straight lines, you'll have to make some edits afterward. In terms of video, focus breathing is basically non-existent, which is a big plus. The autofocus performance was excellent, fast, near silent, accurate. Tracking in video worked just as well as the native Sony lenses that I've played with. The only issue that I noticed is that there is an occasional half-second delay between pressing the shutter button and the camera snapping the picture. It doesn't happen all the time, but when you acquire a brand new focus point, there is an ever so slight delay. Subsequent shots at the same focal point are instantaneous. So optically, this is not a perfect lens, but it is very, very good. And where it becomes exceptional is when you factor in the price. Now, if you are shooting full frame, you know that lenses are not cheap. The closest competitor to this lens is really that G Master at $1,500, $1,450 on sale. This new Viltrox is launching today at $549 US. And I might be able to give you guys a discount code, so check down below. I'll try to link one if there is one available. Usually Viltrox does a couple day long sale at the launch of any new lens, so check that out down below and save a few bucks. It is a big and heavy lens, but it is very well built, and the performance I think is quite impressive. If you want a 50mm lens and the f2 Air version doesn't quite give you the smooth bokeh and the background separation that you are looking for, this new one is definitely worth looking at. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. What is your favorite 50mm lens? Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.